You reach for your keys, and across the room the dog lifts its head. It has already read the keys, the shoes, the particular way you said the word goodbye, and before the door has closed behind you a sequence is running on the other side of it. That sequence is older than your house and older than your language. And most of what people assume about it, that the dog is simply pining or simply waiting, is a story we tell ourselves rather than what the science actually shows. For a long time there were only two popular pictures of the dog left alone. One was sentimental. The minutes until you come back. The other was dismissive. The dog does nothing, feels little, and forgets you the moment you are out of sight. When researchers finally studied the question directly, with controlled tests and careful observation, neither picture survived. What they found instead was a system. A specific, structured, ancient relationship program, and one that turns out not to be about you as much as you would like it to be. Start with the experiment that reframed the whole question. Psychologists at Eötvös Loránd University in Hungary published a study in the Journal of Comparative Psychology. The researchers were József Topol, Adam Miklosi, Vilmos Szányi, and Antal Doka. They took a tool that had been built decades earlier to study human babies, and they pointed it at dogs. The tool was the strange situation test, developed by the psychologist Mary Ainsworth to measure how an infant uses a parent as a base of security. The procedure is deliberately plain. You bring a subject into an unfamiliar room with the individual they are bonded to. You introduce a stranger. You have the bonded individual leave, then return, in a fixed sequence of separations and reunions. What you are watching is not whether the subject gets upset. What you are watching is who they orient to, who they seek contact with when things change, and whether the presence of one particular individual changes how safe the whole room feels. The test is built to isolate a relationship, not a mood. Topol and his colleagues ran 51 owner and dog pairs through a version of this test. The dogs behaved like the human infants the test was designed for. They explored and played more when their owner was present than when only the stranger was there. They directed their contact seeking to the owner after each separation. And the pattern held together well enough that the dogs could be sorted along the same secure and insecure attachment dimensions that Ainsworth had used for children. The authors concluded that a dog's relationship to its owner is analogous to the attachment between a child and a parent. That word, attachment, is doing precise work here. It is not a soft synonym for affection. It is a technical term for a specific behavioral system, and understanding what the system is for is the whole point of this episode. Here is what a secure base means. An attached individual does not simply want the other one nearby. They use that other one as a reference point that makes the rest of the world approachable. With the base present, the environment is something to investigate, to play in, to move away from and come back to. When the base leaves, the exploring stops, and the system switches to a different job, which is registering the absence and working to restore contact. This is why the interesting behavior does not happen while you are in the room. It happens in the gap. The gap is the only time the program has something to do. So what does the program actually do in that gap? This is where honesty matters, because the answer is not uniform and it is very easy to exaggerate. Most dogs, left alone, are not in a state of crisis. In one recent study of 847 dogs, only about 8% showed what researchers classify as noted that this was lower than earlier reports had suggested. For the minority that do show it, the behaviors are recognizable. Restlessness. Whining and howling. Lip licking. Barking. Salivation. And one of the clearest signals was measured not during the absence at all, but at the reunion. The dogs with separation problems took about twice as long to settle and relax once their owner came back. Sit with that reunion detail, because it is the tell. It is about a bond that has a break in it, and a nervous system that stays switched on until the bond is repaired. The dog is not literally counting minutes by the door. The dog is running an attachment system that has registered a rupture and is holding an elevated state until it can close it. And this is exactly the moment where we usually go wrong. We watch the greeting, the whole body wagging, the visible relief, and we reach for the human sentence. The dog missed me. Maybe it did. But what the data actually shows is a relationship system doing its job, not a documented inner monologue. Whether the dog experiences something like the feeling we call missing is a genuine open question, and the behavior on its own cannot answer it. Keeping that gap open, between what we can measure and what we would like to believe, is not coldness. It is the only honest way to look at another mind. What we can measure, as it happens, goes deeper than behavior. In 2015, a group led by Miho Nagasawa published a study in the journal Science on the chemistry of the bond itself. When dogs and their owners looked at each other, the researchers measured a rise in oxytocin, a hormone involved in social bonding, in the owner's body. And it ran in a loop. The owner's response fed back to the dog, whose own oxytocin rose in turn. When the team gave dogs oxytocin directly, the dogs gazed at their owners more, which raised the owner's oxytocin again. Then they ran the same experiment with wolves, and the loop did not appear. Wolves do not hold human eye contact the way dogs do. May have supported the coevolution of the human and dog bond. Notice the caution built into that phrasing. May have supported. The study does not claim the loop created dogs, and neither will I. What it shows is that the bond you feel when your dog looks at you is not only in your head. It is a measurable chemical exchange running in both directions, and it is one that wolves, the dog's closest wild relative, do not share with us in the same way. Something happened along the road from wolf to dog that tuned this species to lock into us. How long has there been time for that tuning? A long time. The oldest undisputed evidence of a domestic dog is a burial in Germany, at a site called Bonn Oberkassel, where a dog was laid to rest alongside two humans around 14,000 years ago. It is the oldest known grave in which people and dogs were buried together. As one researcher put it, on the current evidence it is clear we had domestic dogs by at least 15,000 years ago. Genetic estimates argue for an even earlier start, though those numbers settled dates. Either way, the machinery running behind your door has had at minimum 15,000 years of shared living to be shaped into what it is. But here is the part that matters most, and it is the reason this channel exists. That machinery was not invented for dogs. Go back to the secure base. It did not come from studying animals. It came from Mary Ainsworth and John Bowlby watching human infants and their parents, and building a framework to describe what they saw. Separation protest. The safe haven you return to when you are frightened. The base of security that makes exploration possible in the first place. The calm that a trusted presence produces in the body before you have thought about anything. That framework was built for human children. And when Topple's team carried it into a room full of dogs, the dogs fit it. They fit it because it is not a human system or a dog system. It is a mammalian one, old and shared, and you are running it right now. When a person you trust walks into the room and the room quietly feels easier, that is a secure base. When someone leaves and something in you registers the absence before you have decided to think about it, that is separation protest, the same signal, in the same ancient system, that lifts a dog's head when the keys come off the hook. The dog is not a metaphor for you. The dog is another animal running the same old program in a different body. A brief and genuine note before the close. This is a video about the science of attachment, not veterinary or clinical advice. If a dog in your life, or a person in your life, is struggling with separation in a way that worries you, that is a conversation for a professional and not for a comment section. So the next time you reach for your keys and see the head lift across the room, you can drop both of the old stories. The dog is not heartbroken by the door, and it is not indifferent behind it. It is doing something more interesting than either. It is running a relationship system that predates farms and cities and words, the same system that steadied you as an infant and steadies you still, waiting on the other side of the door to close a loop it was built, across more time than you can easily picture, to close. Here is the question for the comments. Who, or what, is your secure base? The person, the place, the routine that makes the rest of the world feel approachable. I read these. And in the next episode we leave the bond behind and step into the animal mind at work, starting with a bird that can plan a trade most of a day before it happens, and hold its nerve the entire time. That one is next.